What's up, y'all? We're gonna look at this Shaligram. So this video is gonna be focused on Shaligrams. Sorry that I'm not doing anything but Shaligrams, but they're really informative. This one in particular. So this is from Rudraksh Guru, which is where I get pretty much most of their website is down. Most of the Shaligram images are from them. Mangalam jewelry or Tatva jewelry. Some others that I list in my Shaligrams from the Heart video. So definitely check that out if you're interested and haven't seen it. Okay. So this Shaligram, I was looking around. I don't think I have pictures of it. A lot of the ones from their videos are I spent several hours today watching. I don't think I have image of that one. I'm a little surprised because I feel like I've come across it several times. Like these images I got today from videos from them, which is this one here. This is why I took it, because of right here. This is all we see is this picture. This doesn't show much of anything out of the ordinary, but I was just thinking it's almost like there's another chakra there. Like it could have a chakra there form that then like removes this material, but it maintained this chakra while like subtly forming one. That was my reasoning for taking these pictures here. But let's see if I can find it. There's one similar one to the one we're about to talk about. I might have passed it. Here it is. Initially, I thought it was this one. I don't think it's this one. It's definitely not this one. It's definitely not this one. Okay. So, screenshots, Shaligrams, Rudraksh Guru videos. We'll get to that in a second, in a bit. Maybe we can start with the ones. There's so many, actually. Let's start with this one and go from here. So I took some screenshots and from the video, cut out the boundary as best as I could. Cut out the background as best as I could. Including fingers, so like some points, I think none of these really have fingers left in there, but these are all from the video. So if we zoom in on here, we see a chakra here, pretty obviously. Let's look around though, there's lots of chakras here. We see one there, we see one there, which doesn't have a counterpart. This region is missing, so it's like this region is missing a chakra opposite to this chakra. And then there's lots of angles. We see another chakra there, another chakra there, another chakra here, which is here. Chakra, 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 chakra. So these three, interestingly, are in this line. So these are just different angles rotating, and then looking at it from this side, and then these, for some reason I did these again almost. It's a little different than the top ones, but not so different that maybe these are just in a bad order. It doesn't matter. Whatever. The point is, I went through and drew them all. So here's what I ended up drawing. All the chakras I could find. Each color is a chakra. These peach type colored ones are unclear if they're there. So let's watch the video now. With these in mind, there's a bunch of chakras. Also, these are cracks. Crack. Like some type of straight lines. This. So these, before we get to the video, these made me kind of think of at least these ones. Not so much over here. Let's go to some Shaligrams. Maybe we can find something. Like this one, maybe? Like having a shape kind of like that. I guess I can do it opposite. Over here, the way these are, kind of made me feel like essentially like it's like this. It's like a piece kind of like this with like half, and it's kind of got half. But instead of it forming like a stable structure, it ended up just forming a bunch of smaller structures. Instead of like a single ammonite structure, a large one of the size of the rock itself, it formed many here. So let's go through this video. So chakra. There's a chakra there. I was playing it at 0.25 speed, so we're gonna go ahead and just play it at 0.25 speed. I'll just keep pausing it and hopefully catch it at a good quality. If it would have a good quality. Okay, so we see that chakra real clear. We see that chakra real clear. That one. There are subtle ones. There's one here. So notice these are right above each other. Also pointing towards whatever's going on there at the edge of the rock where there's not space for anything else, but maybe the beginnings of what would have been. Like a chakra here. It had space to do it. Even etching to this side, kind of how this thing did. And how this side's more etched than this side of this chakra. Then it's got this structure, which I did not mark really, but it's kind of like one of these off this side, which is interesting. And here there's sort of like a ring structure around it, I was thinking. I'm not sure if it's actually there or if I'm just like some sort of center. It's not really ammonite-like shape. It's more of like a ring with a ring around it and then another ring around it. Pardon me. Okay, here's that first chakra. Here's another chakra underneath it here. Another ammonite set of 2 chakras. This looks real interesting. Like there's that chakra, and there's this like etching in really deeply there, at sort of like a nucleus of this rounded shape that has a flat side over here generally. But it looks like also like this is how it stably was resting, was on the bottom side, and this is like the top face. So it's kind of weirdly shaped where it looks like it had like a arc to it, like a elongated arc, and the arc got like down currents pushing into it that maybe went like different ways in a lot of different directions. Like it divided the current extensively in a way where it then etched into the surface, because the current didn't just like freely flow past the rock. It was contained near the rock, so it flowed on its surface in these eddies that then etched its surface as it was being formed. So notice there's a chakra in there, maybe? Like right there, it looks kind of like a chakra. Also there, maybe? But it looks like a round disc. But as it turns, here's a chakra. So like what looked like maybe a disc here, it becomes part of this chakra structure, interestingly. Another chakra down here. Chakra there. We see a chakra in here. I think the camera will have some. There we go. We can see the chakra-ish. This side's a little less chakra looking. Maybe here it looks more cohesive, but this side looks. There's actually like a connection, a gap between this ammonite and up into this one. Which reminded me of something I really want to point out real quick. If we go to this. Oh my god. If we go to this ammonite spirals, 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 and then it spirals out here, across here. And my thought is, this segment here is like how ammonites will form like a dense. Let's see if I can find an example. Sort of like this, but just further out sometimes, where the inner portion is etched because there was a flow down, but then it pushed like a outer portion that actually ends up being like a mound here. This isn't the best example. I need one that actually has a mound. But I don't know if I had made a category. I made a folder kind of like these. Like if this were to not have this, but would have the base layer, the matrix that this formed on, still present underneath it, and just had this mound at the end, which happens. Point is, it kind of gives me that impression here, and somewhere else. That's not the only place. Right here, this one spirals out, and then it has this boundary here, but it also looks like it has another boundary that goes around here. So this segment here is kind of like a mass at the tail of this chakra's ammonite spiral. So I was thinking maybe a similar thing happened here, where it kind of has like a energetic, like 3 chakras, as tends to happen in some ways at the end of current flows of this, of ammonites in the dendrites. I don't really have examples. Like in this region, it can have like 1, 2, 3, maybe, like main. It can form as 3 a lot of the time, so it kind of gives me that vibe where it has like a most protruding one, a lesser, and then 2 lesser protrusions. This one maybe not even being present in this instance, just kind of connecting across the center one to the far side. But what's really interesting about that, if that's the case, if this ammonite, this spiral, doesn't just like stop here, like we see it goes, it cohesively goes all the way up to its boundary. So there's an ammonite here, right? That means, according to science, that means that there was a ammonite shell present at one time here that caused this shape in the rock. And then there was another one here that caused this shape in the rock. But this one over here directly abuts it, and I would propose even goes beyond it and over here to be like a more complete ammonite out here, more like this square shape or rectangle, like occupying this rectangle in a phi ratio image in a very much like this kind of way. Where it's occupying the space. A little close to the boundary over here, maybe. Not exactly the typical shape, maybe because there's a lot going on here that these are not actually shells. These are caused by current flows that are interacting, so then that would produce anomalies. When there are many of them overlapping, it's kind of like the 3 mass problem in gravity, or whatever they call it, the 3 system problem, where more than 2 systems becomes complex and difficult to model their behaviors when there's more than 2 systems present. Probably because there's like complexities in their interactions in a similar way to how this doesn't form a more traditional ammonite, which would be in like a more typical circumstance where it's like focuses into a single system rather than what's ultimately behaves as a single system rather than many systems within a single system. A single system within a single system. This one, though, is many within a single system, which is common in Shaligrams more so than in other ammonites, although they tend to be removed from the matrix a lot. Okay, let's keep going. So it looks like there's probably a chakra there. For sure there's a chakra there. There's also one here. maybe there. Hard to say. Probably not really. Not from this angle for sure, but there's another angle where it looks like maybe. Like we can see an ammonite shape in there, so a chakra there maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. This one also, it looks like it goes out to about this boundary. Potentially. We can definitely see chakras in there, like they're damaged, but they're still present. And then there's the connection between right there. This one has all these little steps in it. It's kind of like a current running into resistance and bending in and doing it over and over again. And then over here, interestingly, it goes into this kind of circle, but this circle doesn't complete. It just connects over and goes across this way along this crack, which is therefore a channel that was more current was flowing down. Which again goes back to that initial shape of the rock having like a resemblance that it at least at some point began to form as if one system within one rock, but where like the nucleus was generally here and it was creating chambers, basically dividing the rock into segments that were then being shaped by this, but it just didn't do it stably and broke down into all these others. That's kind of my interpretation, but then it like shaped the rock so that it had these weak points, which then when this current that was over here went this way, like it didn't create a lobe that protrudes past this. It went right to this fracture point, and then it didn't have to like extend further to relieve the pressure within there, because essentially what's causing these eddies is a current flowing in with more current behind it, where then it has nowhere to go, so it starts to just swirl because it runs into so much resistance in front of it that it just turns, and then it runs into resistance beside it, so it turns, runs into resistance, and just is forced to spiral while the current continues to flow in. So then it finds ways out by channels that then produce things like this. But then it reaches this boundary where it finds a way out. So it anomalously, like it preferentially chooses to not continue to form a larger structure over here. It goes right to that boundary. And then it like especially evacuates the pressure, blows a little bit more material out over here, and then it just like stabilizes with what I would say, because it does this instead of going over this way. Like had it gone over this way, this structure, that would mean the current went this way from here, but because it's over here, it means the current went this way, which means this fracture line was going generally this way, a current, to over here. So there's like some current coming in here. Notice there's a chakra right there. Like it definitely is pointing at it, and maybe even deflecting in like that down this way. I don't know. Like maybe current went out that way and then went out that way. Flowed through here. Ended up wrapping in here, around, in this way and around, and then evacuating this way. Evacuate. Been watching too many freaking. Oh my god. Catty. That was pretty good. All these world-ending movies. I watched Doomsday 2012 or something of that nature. That was pretty good too. That's actually the only like one that really brought God into it that I've seen. like substantially, and Mayan things, which was just interesting in general, and just a good, like, how spirituality maybe can be type of thing, where there's these inexplicable events that only greater powers could have the capacity to have, like, orchestrated. Like, if there's a chakra in there, it looks totally different, like very shale. This one's very particulate with the gold, maybe pyrite. Reed suggested pyrite. I think he has a point. So yeah, it's probably just pyrite, huh? Let's just keep calling it like the gold, but not gold. So we look over here. Notice here, this one's real interesting. There's a chakra in here, like deep down in there. So not at this layer, but across this channel, like this path, where this chakra that's missing its opposing chakra seems to have, like, caused current to flow this way and then down and created a eddy downward at that location there, right there. So it flowed over this way, ran into resistance. Some of it went up and over and fed into this system this way, where this chakra is, and out this way, out over here, but fed into here. But also it ran into resistance enough that it went down and spiraled around and, like, pushed out a, like, generally circular patch of space here, while doing so in enough of a, like, laminar or, like, continuous way so as to etch the rock to have a ammonite structure here that's in line with this chakra and this chakra, really. And, like, whatever's going on between them, this separator region that's also relatively just like this, it's missing a chakra, and it's abutting this one, so it's almost not quite one of these at all. It's just kind of a chamber. It doesn't have chakras really look like they ever were there. But maybe, like, this thing caused another eddy over here that just didn't, like, off of this. It spirals down and then out and swirls this way, maybe, and pushes the boundary outward. But then it flowed this way and generally in, maybe, possibly whatever this is some kind of drainage from the center outward, but it still didn't form an ammonite shape there. So there's all these in a line, and then if we look up at this one is very much like right there at the center. And then over here, maybe it's not quite at, like, either boundary. This might need, like, a line because it's not straight. Chakra this way. So this chakra, also energetically related, this way to this center point, to this center point, to maybe here. I was thinking, like, here, along the boundary, or this boundary. Like, some kind of cross current also here, I guess, maybe relating to this boundary. here may be relating to the end of this mass segment that I was talking about earlier. Chakra down in there. Another chakra there. Which really, like, that line where the chakra is like right in line with this chakra. This chakra possibly is in line this way with this chakra. Not quite. There we go. Okay. It goes in line with the center of this circle across this way through the chakras to maybe like this outer boundary then, and maybe to this outer boundary here as well as this. Something in that region, possibly to do with over here as well. Accidentally left clicked and had to hold it for a while and I had to let it go. Could see a chakra there. It seems, I'm pretty sure that's a chakra. Although if it's a chakra, yeah, it's a chakra. That's a good picture. We can see some kind of like two parallel-ish lines across the side, like the two sides of the chakra even. One that goes around this boundary, one that goes not quite at the boundary. But it does go up like right to the, pretty much along the chakras to the tip. Thereabouts, maybe the tip protrudes a little bit. Let me get out of the picture a bit. It's mostly over there right now. Can definitely see that chakra in there. Chakra, 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 chakra. These ones look kind of like they're like over and then up. Like from the bottom of this side to the very bottom to the top. So like connected through that line. This also drains off over here. I don't know if I really looked at that spot. Could definitely see some weird features in there. Like right along that, it really looks like a beam that this thing was just shooting up this way. Like right off the tip down the middle to this far point here. Through. Through there even. angle there. What is that? Exactly 90 degrees. Not sure if these have any, like, truly Shaligram ammonite features. I mean, they've got these lines. We can see all these little seashell looking lines. These are going straight down. These are wrapping around a bit. Maybe going like that. We can also see the lines coming off this way. A lot of these, I didn't draw it. Just did not have too much detail. This also looks like it might even go this way. Oh my god. It's not going off of it. That's going across it straight up. Across it. Across. Across. Which does happen in ammonites, which plays into the dendrites and like etching out the dendrites. That there's a cross current that especially can happen like on one side, although this is really the whole thing. I do believe they're going that way. I'd like to see it more than one instance. If this becomes more clear, that would be nice. I can see that one, but that one is to the center, so it's moot. Like, I think they're related to these. Which maybe we're just going more so across the rock. Which perhaps is why it didn't form a single ammonite. It wasn't like a balance point of the flows, like a flow going across, intersecting it more this way. Intersecting these currents. Like these ones maybe overwhelmed that one to a degree, but it was still stable enough to form within this system rather than like breaking down into smaller systems. That does not look like it did. I mean, I guess it could bend back. I guess it could have some bend. It doesn't look like fully formed enough to be more cohesive in its structure. It's more anomalous, I would say. But it's beginning to form a more typical pattern. Somewhere in here, I really hope. We'll have to go through the pictures I took. Because there's certain details. So this is the other side. Pretty basic. Hard to even say where those fracture lines relate to this pattern, how it relates to those. Like maybe this relates like there. They're there. They seem to go like that. Let's go back. Down here. There's really nothing down here that makes me say there. It continues there. So maybe it went off the surface. It wasn't etching into the surface beyond this point. Like this region. epic shot. I'm trying to think, where is the one that looks... So that looks like a sort of chakra forming. Chakra... Okay, maybe here. The one that looks like 2 chakras. Like it has a chakra there. But this... Let's just go to the photos now. Oh my god. I don't think I went through all these. Sorry. Okay. Let's just go through these real quick. Some of them will pop out certain structures. So over here's a chakra, but this structure here kind of looks like it could be a dual lobed, where it has more than one. Like where over here could form a chakra right there. And just like remove this and form a more typical lobe structure that's elongated out that way. With the other side over here and the chakras here instead of here. It looks totally possible that I could do that. Like you can't even really see the chakra in this image. It's like, is there even a chakra there? It also looks to be some kind of hole there. Like there's definitely a connection from both sides across there that are chakra-esque, where this is the chakra. I mean, these are all from the video. It's insane. Watch it at 0.25 speed and then check out all the still images I took from the same video. I know. So we can kind of see over here some interesting, like, parallel aspect to these. Possibly over here too. Looking like a chakra, like lobe over this way, lobe over this way, across the chakra, but this structure, I'm not sure, like, I can't remember which one that is. I think there's a chakra in there. Here's a chakra here, where like this one is kind of across 2 unetched chakras. Here we can kind of see like a wave thing going on. I'm looking in with this here as well. That's what I was trying to find an image of. The way they do that from a certain angle is pretty cool. Here, maybe across this. Yeah, so that, which looks kind of, going back to that image here, it looks kind of connected across to here, there, like especially right here, this little bit there, and then fading out over there, but generally around there. Looks kind of related to that one, having a shape like this one with multiple, and from a like narrow point. But here is, that's where that chakra is, where this one has that beam going across this chakra and then that chamber. So it's definitely doing multiple things overlaying because it's doing both of them. Like we can even see, actually that's the boundary of the ammonite. Yeah, we can see the way this boundary took that shape. Like the ammonite here that has a chakra goes underneath it, but then from above this one, connected across these pseudo chakras to this region, had like an influence in a dual chamber kind of way. Possibly it went across and spiraled in here and then went up and back and down into this region, adding pressure over here to create this eddy that then etched a ammonite shape, as well as influenced it to etch this boundary. Like a added pressure in that region, but an overall pressure in the overall ammonite region from this flow over here. Not sure why this is just spraying. Maybe this is flowing over into it. This ammonite shape has a current like flowing up and in and around this bend and over into here, which then entered this ammonite shape and sprayed that way. As well as going through here to these chakras, down this way, like participating in creating those aspects of here. Can definitely see how that is a little more like it's something of interest over here. This looks very hexagonal. At least the top portion. Or like a house or something, I don't know. See some kind of cross beam thing that I think when we see other pictures it makes more sense. Not sure. Like this chakra, there's a chakra here that has a boundary there generally, but it looks like this system here extends out here as well. Maybe had a region it influenced less between it, kind of creating a separation, which can happen in ammonites, so maybe it was kind of doing it there. Here we go. It's kind of showing. Really like to see. Like this looks like a chakra, but this kind of looks like a chakra too. Like it wasn't stably forming or form both, or form one, then the other started to, maybe this one formed, and then this one started to override it in that way I was talking about, but it still has a mound there. But this one didn't form enough yet. Something. Can kind of see the way this goes up, down, up, down, up, down. It has chakras. I'm not sure if this is a chakra, but it's certainly like behaving like it could have been, but it was at the wrong position overall. This is interesting. Around that way, and then that way, and then maybe that way. I don't know. Possibly. Like I think this is where that chakra is. It sprays this way. This is where the main ammonite is. Goes over across this region. Causes it to spray over here. Up to there. Across there. I guess it's there. Across this thing to here. And maybe in so doing, like the spiral creates a current this way, a current this way, that maybe, I guess, bends. Whatever is going across here, like this current runs into it and just creates pressure along it, squeezes it, and makes it like slice and create this little stretch of teeth maybe, while bending it. Like the current itself bends, the pressure of the current bends, but it like squeezes the rock and causes it to just like because it's essentially like water is within it at the time. So maybe just by applying the pressure on the material, it actually can influence the current flows on the surface as well as within the rock and create like an outcome of this etched pattern. Also looks related over this way. Like maybe this ammonite spiral goes out this way and runs in and goes out there. Also this one that goes across those pseudo chakras to this region. You can kind of see over here as well, it has those like steps like it did over there, but this one kind of looks energetically related to this one across this pseudo chakra. It's like two halves of a more typical ammonite shape, like cross section like this. Chakra, this chakra is pretty much like in this plane. Is that chakra back there? This points at this chakra, where this one pointed at that chakra. This points at that chakra. This one really is like spirals out this way, and then it has a chakra here connected to this chakra. So Some teeth looking thing there. Looking like teeth up there. But this is where we've been looking at, where all these chakras are. Like, that's how incredible this is. Looking, there it is, looking like teeth. Just teeth indentations into the rock. Maybe I can find the one that brings to mind. Where is it? I know where to find it. Shaligram groups sliced 193, and then we go to 193. This one, kind of like this one, but instead of just forming these things, it actually formed like chakra, open the space, made ammonite looking things. That sometimes created like a spiral here, which created ammonite itself in those instances. You can kind of see that little piece of this ammonite, the mass at the end, as well as like another possible mass over here, like right here, wrapping around this way. We can see the chambers, like here, a chamber, a chamber, chamber. So it's definitely some sort of ammonite structure there. It's not fully formed, so when we look at it from, the more like direct we see it, the less it looks like an ammonite, really. Believe it's right here, which is actually surrounding that lobe that is kind of connected to that one, I believe. It's also a little angled more like almost maybe that way. Start again. Start anew. We're doing them again. Okay. Can kind of see in there pretty good. See a chakra there, chakra opposite, chakra there. Like, how are shells intermingling like this? Even if they all got like squished together and compacted and some of them broke, there's no world in which this outcome happens. The only way this could happen is by the stone being etched by currents that are compacted under pressure against its surface and etching into it in eddies. Many eddies that are energetically related in ways that we've been talking about. Like, it looks like there's lines across this way that also are over here. Like, I could see if this chakra is creating like some sort of current around, or an ammonite is present that has a shell that's creating these lines, as ammonites tend to appear to do. But what's up with it over there then? And maybe even throughout the whole thing, like here. Can really see the way it looks like a wave there. Wave. Like teeth. That's cool. It almost looks like it goes around and then it like it creates an extra little eddy on the tail of this eddy, like a whoosh, like a gust of wind going through something. It just gets through enough that it created a tail behind it over here that like has a gap. Like this is weird. Like a intermediary shale material that goes in this way. Possibly an ammonite off the side, and then like it has a boundary here, and then like a sort of ammonite shape started to form here, like this way, I guess. Going over, running into resistance maybe, and somewhat wrapping back around here. I don't know. See that chakra in there. Possibly in line with this pseudo chakra between this and here. This thing going this way. There. Also looks like little layers there relating to this chakra. Like it was exchanging a current over into here across there, or vice versa. Lots of little threaded layers looking things here. Hard to say if I'm just seeing things, but it looks like it might be going on there. Definitely going on there. Possibly. Here we can kind of see the end of this mass. It definitely looks like a typical ammonite mass, like this segment. Like it, besides that, it has another ammonite shape cutting into it, which makes no sense. Unless, you think in terms of currents, then it makes perfect sense. But I'm just talking from a traditional fossilization standpoint. Also, there's a chakra here, and the chakra here. These chakras have this weird, like, layering thing here between them. Almost looks like a waterfall down to here, that then, or like a material fall, that then solidified as that region with like folds in the material. And that was all of that one. And that's an hour, so that's probably good enough for this one. We'll stop 1 hour, 1 Shaligram. Peace out.